Brock Lesnar breaks the arm of Cody Rhodes on Monday Night Raw ahead of their match at Night of Champions this weekend. Cody Rhodes, speaking of the American Nightmare, could a Raw main event between himself and Gunther be scheduled for WrestleMania 40? Well, according to a report, that is the early plan. AJ Styles says it's hard not to disagree that the World Heavyweight Championship is seen as secondary to Roman Reigns. Dakota Kai has torn her ACL. An update on Liv Morgan's shoulder injury and if she will require surgery. The Money in the Bank qualifiers are set to begin on next week's edition of Monday Night Raw. Shotzi is revealed as Raquel Rodriguez's tag team partner. Rhea Ripley's title match at Night of Champions has been confirmed. And we have the ratings for last Friday's episode of SmackDown on Fox. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. Their feud reached a new physical level this past Monday night on Raw, with just 5 days to go until Night of Champions. The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar are set to fight on the event this coming weekend. Ahead of last night's Raw, it was announced that both Rhodes and Lesnar would be appearing on the show, and they wasted no time in meeting up with one another. To kick off the show, Cody was jumped by Lesnar as he was entering the arena, with Lesnar throwing him through a table and attacking his arm with a metal keg. The segment led to a promo from Paul Heyman, who warned Cody that this is what he would be in store for at Night of Champions, though he made sure to note that he had nothing to do with the attack. Now, it wasn't the only Brock and Cody fight and segment in the show. Brock Lesnar laid waste to Cody Rhodes to kick off the episode, but that wasn't the only time the two shared the ring on the show. Lesnar stormed to the ring later on in the show during a Mustafa Ali promo, telling him to, quote, get a life, before saying that Cody wouldn't make it to Night of Champions. Brock then issued a challenge to anyone in the back to come to the ring and face him at the show instead of Cody, but Cody managed to come out anyway. This didn't age very well for Cody, it must be said, and he was already nursing an injury from the backstage brawl to kick off the night. Lesnar ended up locking Cody in a Kimura lock and, quote, breaking his arm to end the segment. This then led to Cody Rhodes facing off with none other than WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque later on in the show. Cody Rhodes had a bad night on Raw, it must be said, with him being jumped by Brock Lesnar backstage at the beginning of the show. Then, of course, as I mentioned, you had the Kimura lock in the middle of the ring, breaking Rhodes' arm. After that fight, Cody refused medical attention from Adam Pearce and the doctors backstage, with Pearce unable to get through to Cody, resulting in him calling up a familiar face. To close out the night, Cody was greeted in his locker room by Triple H, who told him that he knew his arm was broken and that Cody also knew his arm was broken. Triple H said that Cody was afraid of getting doctors to look at his arm, as he knew that would mean he wouldn't be able to face Lesnar at Night of Champions. Cody said that he would be going to Night of Champions so long as his legs let him, and that the repercussions of not going would be far worse for him, before asking Triple H what would he do. The segment ended with Triple H giving Cody a pat on the back as the show went off the air. So, seemingly, despite Rhodes being injured, we are going to be getting the match this coming weekend, Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. Some could argue this might pave the way for Rhodes' just second defeat since he returned to WWE last year at WrestleMania 38. Now, what's quite interesting about Raw last night as well is that it was a chaotic show both on screen but also off of it as well, because it appears last night's episode of Raw was another that saw multiple changes made to the plans for the show. As usual, on Monday morning, WRKD Wrestling, as well as Fightful Select and others, reported on spoilers for some things that were planned for the show. However, some of those plans ended up changing or just not happening at all. WRKD Wrestling had heavily implied that Shinsuke Nakamura was to be the mystery partner for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the main event against Imperium, and that there'd be a match on the show between Finn Balor and Matt Riddle. What we actually saw on Raw was that Nakamura and Riddle roles had been flipped, so it was Balor versus Nakamura, and Riddle was the mystery partner for Owens and Zayn. WRKD Wrestling had also mentioned that there would be a watchful eye on JD McDonough's debut match, but McDonough was nowhere to be seen on last night's show. It's unknown who his planned match was going to be against, but a guess based on last week would be that it might be Dolph Ziggler. To prove that plans had changed and spoilers weren't just a complete dud, WRKD Wrestling had reported that Dominic Mysterio versus Apollo Crews was planned, and that one did end up taking place. After WWE made official announcements of Balor versus Nakamura and Riddle as the mystery partner just before Raw, WRKD Wrestling tweeted, quote, "While plans changed throughout the day, the company hopes to draw viewers in for this weekend's Night of Champions show by having big segments with Cody Rhodes tonight on Raw." Of course, we did see that. We saw multiple Cody Rhodes segments on the show. Now, on the topic of plans changing, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select confirmed that idea too, reporting, quote, "Several rundowns were handed out throughout the night. We're told lots of changes today." Now, it's unknown at this time of recording the show exactly why changes were made or who made them. Of course, that will certainly be a story, I'm assuming, that will come out later today, whether it was a Triple H call, whether it was a Vince McMahon call, whether it was just a general creative call. We'll find out at some point, and of course, when we do, we'll let you know. Now, speaking of Cody Rhodes, could we already have an early indication as to one of the main events for WrestleMania 40 next year in Philadelphia? One match that has been discussed as a potential main event for WrestleMania 40 next year has reportedly been revealed. We're just over a month after WrestleMania 39 took place in Hollywood, but according to WRKD Wrestling, there have already been plans talked about in WWE for next year's event. WrestleMania 40 takes place on April 6th and 7th in 2024 at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Shortly after last night's episode of Raw went off the air, WRKD Wrestling tweeted, quote, "While it's still early, discussions have taken place for Raw's main event for WrestleMania 40 to potentially be Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. Both superstars have expressed an interest in working with each other in the past and are seen as the top face and heel on the Raw roster. Obviously, and is usually the case in WWE, a lot can change in a year, and the report only said the match has been discussed and is not necessarily the current plan. Rhodes and Gunther have already interacted in a big way, that being as the final two participants in the Royal Rumble match earlier on this year, when Gunther had started at number 1 and Rhodes came in at number 30. And obviously, it was Rhodes who got the better of that encounter and won the Rumble match. Gunther still hasn't been beaten in a singles match since being called up to the main roster of WWE in April 2022. Rhodes' only losses since his own WWE return in April 2022 have been to Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania 39 and in the recent three-way on Monday Night Raw with Finn Balor and The Miz, where Brock Lesnar cost Rhodes the match. Of course, Rhodes is going to be defending, well, it's going to be facing off against Brock Lesnar, rather, this coming weekend at Night of Champions. Gunther is going to be defending his Intercontinental Championship against Mustafa Ali. Now, speaking of Night of Champions, we are going to crown a brand new World Heavyweight Champion. And AJ Styles has been asked about the idea that the World Heavyweight title is a secondary title. At Night of Champions, Seth freaking Rollins will face AJ Styles in the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament Finals. This will mark the third world title in WWE after Roman Reigns won the WWE Championship to become the undisputed WWE Universal Champion at WrestleMania 38 in April 2022. This new title was created exclusively for Monday Night Raw after Reigns would be drafted to SmackDown in the recent draft, despite the fact that AJ Styles is also a SmackDown superstar. Speaking with the New York Post, Styles was asked whether or not he feels that the new championship should be considered secondary. He answered, quote, "Is it a secondary? Well, if the Raw Championship is held by Roman, the SmackDown Championship is held by Roman, then how can you argue that it's not? We had to make a new championship because Roman holds them all. What happens if he decides to wrestle for the World Heavyweight Championship? It is what it is, and it's what we've got. If we make the best of it, and if and when Roman does challenge for it, we beat the brakes off of him, whomever it might be, then we'll see what title's secondary." While Styles is looking forward to proving himself as the workhorse once again and working every show as World Heavyweight Champion, AJ does admit that he doesn't begrudge Roman Reigns for his schedule and admits he would do it too. He said, quote, "This is what you want to do. This is what you want to be. This is what you're trying to get in your career. I'm not mad at him. I told him if I could do it, I would, but I'm not Roman Reigns." So AJ Styles is saying, well, it's difficult to argue that the title isn't secondary. And do you agree with what AJ Styles is saying? Is the World Heavyweight Championship, despite being a world title, is it secondary because its creation is because they can't get the titles off Roman Reigns? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Now, WWE, particularly in the women's division, has been hit with a bit of an injury bug recently. There's been an update on Dakota Kai's injury status following last week's SmackDown. On SmackDown, it was confirmed by WWE, of course, that Liv Morgan had suffered an injury, leading to her and Raquel Rodriguez vacating the Women's Tag Team Championships. An update on Liv Morgan in just a second. On the show, Bayley said that Dakota Kai had also been injured in the same match as Liv, which some in WWE said looked worse than Morgan's injury when it happened. In an update from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, it has been confirmed that Dakota Kai suffered a torn ACL in the match. The word is that she was injured after Liv had suffered her injury, with Dakota's injury coming in a spot where she knew that Morgan was hurt and she was trying to protect her. Obviously, we wish her the best in her recovery, and if we get an update on surgery or anything like that, we'll let you know about Dakota Kai. Now, speaking of Liv Morgan as well, an update has emerged on the nature of the recent injury suffered by Liv Morgan on the May 12 episode of SmackDown. The injury caused Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to vacate their Women's Tag Team Championships. It occurred during a tag team match with Morgan and Rodriguez against Bayley and Dakota Kai. Of course, as I mentioned, Kai also suffered an injury in the same match. According to PW Insider, Morgan's injury was related to her shoulder, and it's believed it could be, and an emphasis on the could be a torn rotator cuff. Perhaps expected given the title situation, but Morgan reportedly is not expected back anytime soon. Now, when it comes to Morgan, this could come at a really bad time because actually she's going to be in an upcoming movie. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, 2 WWE superstars are slated for an upcoming movie set to start filming soon. Fightful Select is reporting that they have learned that Charlotte Flair and Liv Morgan are both slated for a wrestling-based movie which films in Louisville, Kentucky in June, starring Emily Bett Rickards as Mildred Burke. The movie highlights her life, career, and marriage. The film is based on the book Queen of the Ring by the Pulitzer Prize-winning Jeff Lean. It's produced by Amy Schuff and Eisen Robbins and is written/directed by Ash Avildsen. Charlotte Flair is set to portray June Byers, while Liv Morgan is slated to play Clara Mortensen. Josh Lucas has been cast as Billy Wolf, and we've also got several other people involved in it. Jim Ross said that on his podcast recently that he'll be working behind the scenes on the film, but given the injury to Liv Morgan, it's led to a lot of people saying, well, is this going to affect her participation in the movie? What does it mean? Of course, if we get an update on that, we'll let you know. Some people have speculated that that's why this injury had taken place. It's just a work, but by all accounts, it is legitimate and surgery isn't off the table. Switching gears here back to Monday Night Raw. Next week, of course, after Night of Champions, we're on the road to Money in the Bank, taking place, of course, in London, England at the O2 Arena. And WWE announced on this week's edition of Raw that qualifying matches for this year's Money in the Bank ladder match will commence from next week's Monday Night Raw. They have, though, not yet announced the participants for the qualifying matches as of this recording. This year's Money in the Bank premium live event will be held at the O2 Arena in London, England, and will take place on July 1st. Theory won last year's men's Money in the Bank ladder match and cashed in his contract on the United States champion Seth Rollins, but of course he was unsuccessful at it. Liv Morgan, who won the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, had better luck as she cashed in on the same night and pinned Ronda Rousey to become the SmackDown Women's Champion, which was her first and only major singles title in WWE. So, of course, if we get an update onto who the participants are, we'll let you know, but the Money in the Bank qualifier matches are set to begin next week. And we spoke, didn't we, about the Women's Tag Team Championships being vacated. And on the May 29 episode of Raw, Raquel Rodriguez will be looking to win back the Women's Tag Team Championships that she never lost. However, she'll do it without Liv Morgan and instead her brand new partner, Shotzi. Following her victory over Sonya Deville on Monday night, Rodriguez was attacked by Deville and her partner, Chelsea Green. That's when Shotzi made the save. Moments later, the duo made their partnership official. The Monday after Night of Champions, Rodriguez and Shotzi will have their hands full as they look to win those titles. Joining them in their scheduled Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match are Deville and Green, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, as well as Damage Control's Bayley and Io Sky. Rousey and Baszler recently returned to WWE programming, also to attack Rodriguez and challenge for the Women's Tag Team Championships. While new champions will be crowned on May 29, the Women's Tag Team division hasn't had the best of luck recently, as I mentioned, with the injuries to Liv Morgan and Dakota Kai too. If the newly formed duo were to win the titles next week, though, it would mark the third different partner with which Rodriguez has won Tag Team Gold since being called up to the main roster. She first became Tag Team Champion alongside Aaliyah by defeating Kai and Sky last August, then secured the gold again with Morgan against Becky Lynch and Hall of Famer Trish Stratus last month. So could third time be the charm for Raquel Rodriguez with a different Tag Team partner on the main roster? Speaking of the women's division, we have a match now officially set for Night of Champions. On May 6th at WWE Backlash, Rhea Ripley successfully defended her SmackDown Women's Championship against Zelina Vega. This Saturday at Night of Champions, she'll look to retain the gold yet again when she takes on WWE veteran Natalya. On Monday night, Ripley interrupted a returning Apollo Crews to call the former SmackDown Women's Champion out, declaring, "At Night of Champions, I'm going to make an example out of you." The two initially crossed paths 2 weeks ago on Raw when Natalya interrupted Ripley's post-match beatdown of Dana Brooke. Mammy didn't stop there, however, promising to end Natalya's career as well. Since defeating Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 39 to claim the SmackDown Women's Championship, Ripley has only had one title defense, of course that being against Zelina Vega in Puerto Rico. However, she's lived up to her billing as the Eradicator for the Judgment Day over the past several months, elevating fellow member Dominic Mysterio in the process. It remains to be seen what, if anything, will happen with her championship, given the fact that she's on Monday night, she's a Raw superstar, while the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair is on SmackDown. But in the meantime, she'll be looking to take care of Natalya, whose last singles victory dates all the way back to last year when she defeated Cora Jade during an episode of NXT. About 1 month later, she won a six-pack challenge on SmackDown for the right to challenge Ronda Rousey at Money in the Bank, where she also lost. Turning her luck around this weekend will be no easy task. Now, finally, speaking of SmackDown, we got the ratings for last Friday's show on Fox. Last Friday, WWE held a double SmackDown taping, with the first half airing live and the second half airing this coming Friday, since most of the top stars will already be in Saudi Arabia for Night of Champions. Against stiff competition from the NBA and NHL conference finals coverage, maintaining the previous week's positive momentum seemed like a tall order, and Monday afternoon's rating report confirms that in fact that was the case. According to reporting from Showbuzz Daily and WrestleNomics, the May 19 SmackDown averaged 2.133 million viewers across its 2 hours, down less than 1% from last week, approximately 691,000 of which were in the key demographic most valued by advertisers at adults aged 18 to 49, which is down 5% from the week prior. The latter figure translates to a 0.53 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, giving it third place for the day behind the Miami Heat-Boston Celtics game and its post-game show. For a more extensive picture look at the recent ratings, the WrestleNomics Patreon page tracks how SmackDown did in various demographics in relation to the median of the prior 4 weeks' numbers. By that metric, every demo being followed was down slightly from the median by a few percent at most, except for all viewers outside the key demo, which saw no change. The biggest percentage drop was a three-way tie between adults aged 18 to 49, adults aged 35 to 49, and adults aged 25 to 54, all of which were down 4% from the median. Adults aged 18 to 34 were just behind those demos with a 4% drop, while total viewers were down by 1%. So there you go, that's the ratings for Friday's episode of SmackDown. But there you go, guys, this is the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.